Oh, I feel like that's all the time almost. 2 or 3 years ago, I was watching a lecture, I think, or listening to a podcast about a guy, but he was talking about time management, I guess, and what we do with our time, and also like what potential lies in the time that we do have, and what we could do or become with the time that we have, and what we choose to do with it, and how much time do I waste doing things that I don't really care for or want to do. I just happen to do them because it's kind of really easy to do it and not just bother doing something productive. Yeah, I think that was the last time I had a major wake up to that, I guess. That's something I kind of try and remind myself of all the time, because it's so easy to slip back into, bad habits of doing useless stuff. One change that I decided to do was to always try and do something productive when I wake up. To make the first thing I do in the morning, try to do something productive the first thing in the morning, and not just, pick up your phone and scroll through endless useless crap on YouTube or whatever platform you're on, right? To just try and do something small just to get started. Yeah.
I got married about 12 years ago, 13 years ago. That was the last major change. Enjoyed it. It's been worth it. I was pretty much a jerk before I got married again. If you ask my wife, she'll tell you he's still a jerk, but I don't think so. I've changed a little bit. That's been about it. Be happy with yourself and what you're doing. You can't be happy for somebody else. You just have to be happy for yourself.
Had an opportunity to make a pretty good change in career, although I'm doing basically the same thing, but just in a different industry. And that was really refreshing for me to get out of the healthcare industry into more of a retail industry.
It's a big life change.
Life change, for sure. And that's been fairly recent. It's only been, 4 months. I keep using the word refreshing, but yeah, it's been exciting. And
it's hard to work with healthcare.
Well, it's challenging. It's not hard, it's just challenging. And I don't miss those specific challenges. Every job's got its challenges for sure, but it was definitely a right move for me. So that's a big life change for me. Do you have any?
Probably the most was moving from Pittsburgh area to Ohio, going from an area where there were stores and restaurants 2 minutes away to now our town doesn't have a restaurant. It's 20 minutes to a half hour pretty much to go anywhere. It's very, very rural, but I've adjusted. I'm still here. We're still here.
Well, it was...
family.
Yeah, it was
on family.
Yeah.
Kurt's dad passed away. Had a 180-acre tree farm. His mom is still alive, and for us to keep the farm in the family, I can work from home. He didn't have too far to travel.
Yeah, and our youngest graduated from school. We lived in Pennsylvania at that time, so it was just the timing worked out perfect. We were very fortunate in that respect, that everything just kind of timed out right.
We're always very fortunate.
Yeah, we certainly have been.
I mean, adjustments, but very fortunate.
Got two happy people with not a whole lot of tragedy in their lives.
Not too much trauma or tragedy.
Yeah, so hopefully it stays away. We're not going to jinx ourselves, but yeah.
I had my baby son, my wife and I had our son 4 months ago, and I realized that there's going to be a lot of change coming in our life. I was excited for it. I don't know if I really had a choice whether change was coming or not, but that's the most blessed change I've had in recent memory, yeah. I think it became less about what my wife and I can do to have an experience for ourselves, and it more was how can we give him the best experience that he could possibly have. The priority shifted. I realized I was okay with it, and it was much needed. So I appreciate it very much.
Probably when I sold my company after having it for 30-some years, I needed to make a change. So I took a sabbatical for a month to see if I would miss work. I was afraid to retire because I thought, well, I'll just miss work too much. But the sabbatical helped me, and I've been giving this advice to other people that are reaching retirement age. Taking a month sabbatical, or even 2 or 3 months, gives you a feel for retirement. And I didn't think about work. I didn't think about my clients, the folks I worked with, which is kind of weird. You would think that you'd miss them. But after running a business for 32 years and going through all that, it was nice to get away from it. And I realized then that's when I had to make a life's change, that I could make my life's change and retire. So it took me another year to figure out how to exit my company and sell it. So it's kind of a technical, professional thing, but that was a big life-changing event.
I guess it just keeps happening over and over again. Keep getting more and more lessons, I guess. Oh shit. More and more lessons. I always gotta change. You can always be better. Like every week I'll change what I wear, depending if I'm feeling like Deftones or if I'm feeling like Yeet, you know? My personality changes every like 30 minutes, so I guess I'm always changing. Trying different things. Mostly, I don't know. I just like trying different things. Sometimes I'll even wear glasses, have them in the car.
I'm about to be 73 here in a couple weeks, so it's kind of late to be changing. I don't know how much changing I'm going to do or need to do. I need to just mellow out in my last sunset days, we'll call them. I don't know exactly what I need to change then at my age. I'm a little older than you. I have no complaints. I've had a good life. I'm happy with it. I've been very fortunate. Even though I've had hepatitis C, throat cancer, 2 hip replacements, and broken neck, I've been very fortunate because I've traveled the world and played in rock and roll bands and stuff like that. Everybody has ups and downs, but I don't have any complaints about mine.
I guess we all have stages of that. I guess the one I really, you had to make changes when I was just out of college for a couple of years and I was in a job really going nowhere. I just realized that, but I took a job because it was money and you had to get things going. So I just sort of sat down one night, had a self-evaluation, and decided, well, what do I really want to do and how do I want to get to it? And it sort of was a good epiphany for me at that point to explore some options, and things sort of fell in place, and you shifted gears, kind of a paradigm shift, and it worked well for me. I actually went from doing like accounting related type stuff, more of an office type thing, into sales, which didn't think much of at the time, but it was really great because you get to develop relationships in sales, and you get to just converse a lot, which I like to do as well. So it was good for me. Glad I just had enough, I guess, intellect to sit down and do that and get through it.
I would say about 5 years ago. I've been going with a lady for a number of years, and lived with her. And, I do believe in God, and as I get older, I wanted to get right with the Lord, and I thought, and do the right thing, for my wife too. And we knew neither one of us were going to leave, so we got married, and we're not sorry.
So I'm a missionary for my church, and we recently had a meeting with us missionaries, and our mission president gave a talk, and he was talking about just, how can you convert yourself more to Jesus Christ? And I realized that sometimes I get kind of lax in how I, follow Jesus Christ. I read my scriptures, I say my prayers, I do all those things, but I could probably be more intentional with them. And so I want to get more out of my scripture studies and, be more intentional in my prayers. And so that's something that I'm striving to do. Yeah, for sure. It's easy to get in a routine when you do something every day. And so I want to make it less of a routine and more of a way of life. I want to study my scriptures because that's will bring me closer to Jesus Christ, not because that's what I'm supposed to do. I want to say my prayers because I know that it's going to help me and it's going to further my relationship with Jesus Christ instead of just doing it because that's what I'm supposed to do.
In 1994, my wife of 20 years was 8 months pregnant. She fell dead in a Walmart checkout counter. Had 3 young children on the age of 18. After I recovered from that loss, I surrendered into the ministry and been involved in missions and sharing the gospel ever since. Went 14 times to Peru doing mission work. Come back from there and went to South Dakota and done mission work. Went to Oregon, Vermont, Midwest, the Southeast. I went to done a lot of mission work during the Katrina disaster on the Gulf Coast. And the Lord has used me in a mighty way.
My fiance passed away 2 years ago. I was depressed. And we was together for 18 years. We lived together. I didn't want to get married again. He was married once and he didn't want to do it again. But he went off my wishes. And when he passed away, it'll be 2 years in February coming up. Kind of went into a deep, like a depression. still struggle with it a little bit now, but not as bad as it was. So I knew I had to change because he wouldn't want me to be like that.
Now.
Now.
Yeah, we're trying to do a lot of change right now. Trying to get our own place. I just got a car. So, yeah, just trying to get on our feet and be somebody, you know? So my family isn't the most normalist family that anybody would say. They do fall in the low bracket of Roanoke, if that makes sense. Trying to get from rock bottom when your parents should be the one, you know, to help you out in life to get you started has been really stressful. So the changes from going from a home that has no lights and water to being in a stable environment to having a good job and a family and a safe place to call home.
I'm trying to rebuild my car currently. It had a blown up motor in it, so I got the motor pulled out. I've been ordering a bunch of parts. Kind of trying to get on my feet and get into our own place, I guess. There's a lot more that I could be working on, but that's kind of my main goal right now, because once I get my car running and all that, it should be a straight shot from there.
Oh, I realize that every day. I think every day is an opportunity to make a positive change in your life. And I think most of us who are trying to become better people do better every day. We're trying to do one little thing every day to make their lives and hopefully other people's lives better. I know I'm always in the process of becoming, so I'm never perfect. I'm never going to be perfect, but, you know, I'm going to try. Despite my goofy nature, I'm also very sarcastic. Sarcasm tends to put people off, so I'm trying to reduce the level of sarcasm and increase the level of goofiness.
A couple months ago, when I was working back at the prison, I seen myself going down like a really bad path. I had really bad influences in my life, so I think just trying to get out there and moving here to Roanoke really, you know, brightened my way, you know, just to like live on my own besides my parents and, you know, getting away from these bad influences and, you know, just starting my life here. First, it was my job, you know, probation officer, but also just to get away from, you know, the small country town I was in and just moving somewhere new and starting fresh.
This winter, you know, coming off of my fall semester of my sophomore year in college, I don't know, I wasn't very active or very engaged. Like I was very isolated with like certain people and isolated in academics and isolated just kind of like with myself, that I felt like, I don't know, it took me a while to realize, but I kind of realized I wasn't really happy with the trajectory I was going, just in terms of like what I was doing with my time and what I was doing, I guess just like with my life in general. So I had to take a second, sit back and reflect and really take some time to figure out like what I had to do to make myself happy, like in the moment, at school, like surrounded by the people I was surrounded with. And I mean, it took some time, but I think like after kind of realizing that I need to like, you know, kind of put effort into things and like go out, be active, meet new people, go out and explore my own interests and explore my hobbies. I mean, it helped like after realizing that, like I think I was like, I mean, I had one of the best semesters in college last year. So I think kind of like realizing that like what I was doing, like kind of like self-isolation wasn't really working. Like, you know, that's not the kind of person I am. That's not what makes me happy. And I think kind of realizing that and then putting in the effort to change that, joining clubs, joining groups, going out with friends, you know, reconnecting with old friends was something that I'm really happy that like I kind of took the time and realized that I kind of needed to do that.
After my breakup with a girl that I've been seeing that I really felt I had a connection with, and she kind of just left me, that was when I realized that I needed to make a change for myself so I could feel more content with myself and not rely on other people to feel content. Like exercising, being more attentive and more focused on faith than anything, really.
It was mostly with my friends when we were out. We were having fun, and then we saw like a lot of people go by quickly, and things happened. Someone was passed out. It was during Fête de la like a music festival. I don't really know what it was. I talked to my therapist about it, and she was like, because I thought I saw myself like there if I kept doing, like, we were drinking that night. It was a festival and, well, around Paris and all that. And so it was really fun, but at the same time scary because I didn't feel in control anymore. I was like, okay, I have to get back, lock in. So I felt like I should have fun, but like with moderation, because seeing that guy on the ground, it scared me a little bit. I didn't want to end up like that.
I was an alcoholic and it was about 30 years ago. I mean, I was an alcoholic, I just didn't realize it. So I got in trouble with my probation officer because she didn't want me drinking, and I kept drinking. But yeah, I ended up going to jail for a year and a half, and that got it out of me, that and other substances. And I could think straight again. So I started going to AA. It's been 32 years now.
As you get older, you realize that you could always do things better. Seeing my children grow up, and especially in their teenage years, I guess you gain experience from the mistakes I've learned. So with that coming, as your family grows, then you, I guess, start changing to meet the needs of the children of the family. And now, my children are marrying, and so, we've got son-in-laws, daughter-in-laws. So that also requires, requires you to change with all that, You're no longer just a husband or a father, but now you're becoming a Pat-Paw is what they call me. And so there's changes there. I guess brings more seriousness about life, knowing that I've got a family that is depending on me in so many ways to live right, to be right, and to walk in this life sure-footed, if we could say it that way. And our whole goal is to raise our children to know the Lord, to experience God as a living God. I certainly have made mistakes, so I just don't want the children to follow them mistakes. So we try to be the best example that we can, and so they can have someone to follow. And because they're going to be making tracks in life, and they've got to have someone solid in their life, that they can look to and say, he made it. Dad went through things, and yet he didn't give up. He didn't despair, but he kept pressing on. And anyway, even though, the children are growing up and they're, some of them are marrying off, it's still, there's that responsibility that I have, of course, every day. As a Christian, I always strive to, my desire is to be closer to the Lord and to reflect Him, in my life, so.
Maybe February or March, I decided to quit my job and move back home because I realized I just was not happy. I couldn't just keep on pushing myself to stay there when I wasn't happy. So I decided to come home, and that was probably the best decision I've made in a long time. So I'm very happy. So I was working at a camp as a program director, which was my dream job. Literally loved it so much. The job was great, but the community and social aspect of things was really tough for me, and being away from home was really hard. I was about 800 miles away from home, so that was really tough. Moving back home, I've gotten a lot, I focus a lot on myself and taking care of myself and being healthier and stuff like that, and I'm excited to be working with my dad's company and prolonging the family business and stuff like that, so yeah.
We raised our kids in a big 4-square brick, they call it, 2,500 square feet with a basement, first floor and top floor. And when they were all gone, we got very tired of running up and down stairs all the time. So we sold that house and rented for 2 years and built a brand new home all on one floor and a nice 3-bedroom, 2-bath. I got to pick almost everything. My husband let me manage the whole project. That is a huge blessing. So yeah, that was a good one.
I don't know if today's a realization, but today was the first time I toured to college. And I think it is kind of a slight realization of just kind of what I need to start looking at and what I start needing to do. So today might be a bit more special than I'm aware of right now. Just kind of what my path might be.
I guess in 2020, I became Christian then, so I made a change in my life that. I realized I couldn't do this without God, so that's what made my change in my life. I couldn't do it on my own so I just needed someone there, and I just found God through that.
8 years ago, wife and I had always been sort of education and then job. Our second child came and he was young, and it just seemed like work wasn't as important as, being better parents. So we just made a change, and I decided to stop working, and that was that.